Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, hi, I'm Melody, and on this channel I like to discuss fragrances. Today I will be exploring the house of BDK, so if that's something that interests you, please keep watching. I fell in love with Rouge smoking and I was really interested in trying some other BDK fragrances. I had a hard time finding samples at the time when I was looking, so I went to Scent Split and I picked up some of these 1 ml samples and I put them in these little atomizers. So I wanted to first start off by saying that I did get a full wear out of these fragrances, but I was really only able to get the one full wear. And I don't know how, but I wound up with 2 full-size samples from BDK. I can't remember where I got these. I didn't get them with my Rouge smoking order. So yeah, it's a mystery to me where these 2 came from. It was probably with some other order for something, but I have 6 fragrances here that I've tested and I want to give you my thoughts on them. And for those of you who haven't seen any of my other exploring videos, I do have a whole playlist of them. I'll link it down below. But I always have my journal with me and I wear a fragrance for an entire day and I just take notes throughout the day on how I feel about the fragrance. What I typically do with the fragrance is I try and spray like I would typically spray just to see how the fragrance would wear. I do avoid my clothes though because I don't know if it would stain or if I really don't like the fragrance. I don't want to completely have to change my outfit. So, there have been a few occasions where I've just had to scrub a fragrance because it was just that awful. But otherwise, I try and give it the best wear I can, and I go over and I make notes on each of the fragrances. In most cases, if I can get a discovery box, the fragrance samples are large enough that I can get a second wear out of a fragrance. Unfortunately, with these small ones, I can't. So I guess for fragrances going forward, where I can't get a discovery set, I'll probably have to do the 2 ml samples, which it gets pretty steep. It's like $15 often for just a 2 ml sample of some of these fragrances. Anyhow, for BDK, so the first one I tried was Passé Soir. The main accords are woody, white floral, fruity, warm, spicy, sweet, citrus, amber, floral, fresh, and musky. Top notes of ginger, mandarin orange, and black pepper. Middle notes of quince, Moroccan jasmine, and orange blossom. Base notes of cashmere and amberwood and Singapore patchouli. So to me, it opened with this citrusy, peppery scent that's coming from, the mandarin and the pepper. You get a kick of ginger, and it quickly settled into this dry, fruity floral scent from the quince and the jasmine. I didn't pick up too much of the orange blossom. It was primarily the jasmine that I was smelling. You could still pick up a bit of that pepper, giving it a little bit of a kick, and it was definitely a very unique fruity floral to my nose. Unfortunately, the performance for me was not really good. It sat very close to my skin the entire time. I didn't notice it having any projection. Perhaps if I had more to spray, it may have projected more or lasted longer, but for me, the performance on this one was kind of lacking. I didn't really pick up any of the base notes. There wasn't that much patchouli, which is a good or bad thing depending on how you feel about patchouli. But I also didn't smell any of the amber or the cashmere. To me, it kind of stayed in those mid notes. And then by the time those died off, the fragrance really wasn't there anymore. That is one that I'm a little on the fence about because I really did enjoy the opening and I really enjoyed that mid as well. So I'd like to purchase a larger sample of that and give it a few more wears to see if that's full bottle worthy or not. But that is a fragrance that I really enjoyed. It just didn't perform the way I wanted it to, and I'm thinking if I had a larger sample, I might have gotten a better wear out of that one. Next, I tried Velvet Tonka. The main accords are vanilla, sweet, almond, amber, nutty, fruity, woody, tobacco, aromatic, and white floral. The top notes are almond and orange blossom, middle notes of tobacco and rose oil, base notes of tonka bean, bourbon, vanilla, amberwood, and amorous. I was really looking forward to this fragrance. I absolutely love almond in fragrances, and I'm still on the hunt for a really good tobacco fragrance that I like. I was a bit apprehensive about the rose oil, but I have been finding more rose fragrances that I like. So this was one that I was really looking forward to trying, and unfortunately, this was my least favorite. It instantly smelled like some kind of baby oil oil or baby powder. To me, I think it was maybe like some kind of Johnson & Johnson baby product, like just kind of a nondescript baby scent. It was kind of powdery, so that's why it made me think of baby powder, but just something about it. I do not like that scent. I know there are a lot of people who like that baby powder scent, but it's really not for me. So if you are into baby powder scents, this might be for you, but this one was one that several times I considered showering to scrub it off because I just didn't care for it that much. But luckily for me, this is the only one that I didn't like, or maybe unlucky because I think I want full bottles of all of the rest of them. Next, I tried Wood Jasmine. The main accords are amber, balsamic, fruity, woody, sweet, vanilla, smoky, white floral, and warm spicy. The top notes are plum and pear, middle notes of jasmine sambac, Egyptian jasmine, artemisia, Turkish rose, base notes of Peru balsam, incense, Madagascar vanilla, Spanish labdanum, cypriol oil, and Indonesian patchouli leaf. This one opens with a really smoky, boozy plum note. Nothing like what I would imagine from the name of the fragrance. It's called Wood Jasmine. There was nothing woody about it, and I picked up a tiny bit of the jasmine, but for the entire wear of the fragrance, it kind of smelled like a boozy plum. In fact, it was syrupy. It almost smelled as if you left prunes to soak in some kind of liquor. It had that boozy, syrupy, really balsamic quality. It was very lovely. It's definitely a fall winter scent. It's quite heavy, smoky, very nice. It's one that I'm really considering looking into. The performance of this fragrance was pretty good. It lasted about 6 hours. Towards the end of the fragrance, you really just pick up kind of a basic amber fragrance, but throughout the wear, it was really nice. I can't really say how unique this fragrance is. For me, these balsamic amber fragrances aren't something that I tend to look for very often, but I've seen a lot of them that err on the side more like angel share, where they have this almost apple pie scent, or there's ones that have a lot of cherry. I haven't seen a lot with plum, so this one may be unique. I don't know. For my collection, it would definitely be unique, and so it's something that I am considering purchasing, but definitely not this year. It'd probably be next year or so. It's definitely a fall winter fragrance, and there are other fragrances that I'm more interested in trying for this fall and winter, but this is definitely one that is up there on the list of things that I'm really interested in. I think I might want to get another sample of this one just to give it another wear or two to see if this is something I'd really want a full bottle of, but it was really intriguing and I did quite enjoy it. So the next one I wore was Gris Charnel. The main accords are woody, warm, spicy, aromatic, powdery, fruity, iris, sweet, earthy, green, and vanilla. The top notes are cardamom, fig, and black tea, middle notes of iris and bourbon vetiver, base notes of sandalwood and tonka bean. So this fragrance opened with this earthy, spicy tea scent, but it also smelled really refined. It smelled somehow elegant. And I would never imagine like an earthy kind of scent also smelling elegant. Like those things seem contradictory, but there's something about this fragrance that was just so refined and well put together. This could easily be somebody's signature scent. I think it could be worn in any season, and I also think it could be worn dressed up or dressed down. I think this could be played off pretty casual, jeans and t-shirt running errands, but I think you could also dress this up and wear it for a formal occasion. I think it's just a beautiful, well-rounded fragrance. As it dried down, I picked up more of the soft sweet iris and the dryness from the vetiver. There was like this airy wafting quality that like I couldn't really place. I looked at the notes and I didn't really know exactly where that was coming from. So I dug into it, and Fragrantica referred to the vetiver as being ethereal, and I think that's exactly what it is. There's this ethereal quality to this fragrance. It's just beautiful. I don't think I have words to describe just how nice this fragrance is. I think this is just such a beautiful fragrance. Now, I think in general it sits close, but because of that ethereal quality it has. There is a bit of projection that's nice, but it is subtle, and I think this is that kind of fragrance. It's not a fragrance that's going to show up before you do, but I think for the type of fragrance this is, I think it only being about an arm's length from you is the perfect amount. I think someone who wears this, they're not trying to do too much. This is for the lady who's confident in themselves, who doesn't mind rocking this in any circumstance. It doesn't matter where they're going or what they're doing. This would be the beautiful signature scent. In fact, after smelling this, originally I thought if I ever got a signature scent, I'd want it to be Mon Guerlain. I think GRIS Charnel might beat that out. I think this is a beautiful fragrance. I'd really like to try the extrait before committing to a full bottle of this. I don't know if they are still similar scents, but just the performance is different, but I still really want to try the extrait before getting a full bottle. I know this fragrance is really hyped up on YouTube, but I honestly think it is totally worth it. There are fragrances that get really hyped on YouTube that, like, I don't understand the hype, but this one I totally get. It is such a beautiful fragrance, and I just don't think I'm doing it justice by describing it. It's really a beautiful fragrance, and if you haven't tried it, I would recommend trying to get your hands on a sample. The next fragrance I tried was Tubereuse Imperiale. The main accords are white floral, tuberose, woody, yellow floral, vanilla, powdery, amber, sweet, warm spicy, and animalic. The top notes are geranium and rose bay willow herb. Middle notes of Indian tuberose, ylang ylang, jasmine sambac, Egyptian jasmine, and iris. Base notes of Madagascar vanilla, benzoin, sandalwood, cashmere, incense, Singapore patchouli, and cypress. So this fragrance opened with a really bubblegum tuberose scent with like a little kick of something spicy. I think it was coming from the geranium. I didn't get any of the rose bay willow flower. Or willow herb. I have no idea what that is, and when I went to look, there was no information on what that scent would smell like, so I have no idea if I smelled that, but it was predominantly a bubblegum tuberose kind of scent. As it started to dry down, it got sweeter and creamier. It actually reminded me of this bubblegum ice cream that my grandpa and I got with my cousin while we were at the beach one time. We were all really excited about this new bubblegum flavored ice cream, and so we got it in our cones and we walked across to sit at the beach, and we all took a bite out of it at the same time and immediately spit it out. Bubblegum should not be in ice cream ever. However, the scent of it was just so good, and so to me that's what this fragrance smells like. It kind of gives me that fond memory. It's just a moment in time that, like, me and my family always laugh at because of just how ridiculous it was. But anyhow, the fragrance of that ice cream, it smelled really good. It just tasted awful. This fragrance smells just like that bubblegum ice cream. There's that creamy sweetness and that bubblegum. I wasn't sure if I was getting anosmic to the fragrance though, because there was a lot of times where I felt like I almost couldn't smell it, or I'd have to put my hand like right up to my skin to smell it. I even asked my girls and my husband, and they had trouble smelling it on occasion, but it would come back. And we went to the movies that day when I was testing it, and while I was sitting there, it was warming up more on my skin, and I could really start to smell that, which was odd. Typically, I don't find fragrances performing better later on in the wear. They will change, and there are parts that you enjoy more than others, but in general, I've not experienced fragrances where like you can't hardly smell it and then suddenly it's there. It was maybe at like the 6 hour mark where I was sitting and I could smell this sweet bubblegum scent on my skin. While I wish the performance was more consistent and I could smell it the whole time, I definitely really enjoyed what I was smelling, and I definitely think this is something that will go on my list. So we're down to the final fragrance I wore was Creme de CUIR. The main accords are musky, powdery, leather, woody, citrus, sweet, vanilla, fruity, fresh, spicy, and smoky. The top notes are pineapple, grapefruit, mandarin orange, and bergamot. Middle notes of white suede, sandalwood, pink pepper, and pepper. Base notes of cashmere and vanilla, white musk, gray musk, and birch. So this is one that I got in one of these samples that I didn't pick out. I don't know where it came from, and it's one that I wouldn't have picked out for myself because I'm nervous about pineapple and grapefruit in fragrances because they often come off like really sour or funky on my skin, and I'm not the biggest fan of leather in most fragrances. Sometimes I'm surprised by it, but in general, I try and steer clear of leather fragrances as well. And I also don't care for pink pepper. In most cases, I think it's way overdone and it just bothers my nose. So I was so pleasantly surprised by this fragrance. I wrote like 2 pages on this fragrance, so I'm gonna have to keep looking over here. So it did open up with this overripe pineapple. It didn't go weird on my skin though. It was quite nice and it only lasted a short while. So if you're looking for a fragrance that is like really strong in pineapple, this is not the fragrance for you. Like this pineapple goes away within like a few minutes. It was gone. So it did quickly transition into the suede note. While the pineapple and the suede were kind of like together in the fragrance, it almost gave it this like rich like leather scent as opposed to a soft like smooth suede. It had like this thicker, denser leather kind of fragrance, which didn't bother me too much because there was the sweetness from the pineapple. But once the pineapple was gone, it was a softer suede note. Once the top notes all dried off and you were in the middle of the fragrance, that you had that soft suede with the spiciness from the pepper. I didn't pick up any of the pink pepper. I got more of the other pepper in it. And then you get the combination of those base notes of all the cashmere and the vanilla and musk. It actually gave me like a very specific image in my head. I don't often get those with too many fragrances. I know there's a lot of people who have like images in their mind or they like have created a whole story based off of different fragrances, and I love how they describe fragrances. I don't get that a lot of times, but for this fragrance, it reminds me of sitting on a porch swing in the front yard. You see all the red and orange leaves falling. It might honestly be because we're like heading into fall that it gives me this vibe, but it feels like the season's changing, it's cold, you have a nice suede jacket on, you're bundled in like a really cozy blanket and you're reading as the rain falls. It gives me this just very clear image, and I loved that. Like that vibe is totally what I want right now. And I don't know if maybe there's a part of me thinking of it that way because fall is coming, but that's just the vibe it gives me. So because of that image that this fragrance gives me, I really can only imagine wearing this in the fall. However, I really love this fragrance. I thought it projected really nice. The performance was quite nice. It was about an arm's length away, but this fragrance to me evokes cozy kind of vibes. So to me, I think only an arm's length away is a perfectly good projection. I think I have noticed that with all of these BDK fragrances that I've tried, none of them are super big projectors or performers. I think they all kind of cap out around the 6-7 hour mark. But I think this is probably the first exploring video where I have more than one or two that I like. There are some videos where I didn't like any of the fragrances, but I liked all but one of these fragrances quite a bit. In fact, I have a list of new full bottles that I want. So that Creme de Coeur is one that I definitely want to get one day. So at the end of the video, I like to rank the fragrances. In sixth place was Velvet Tonka. It smelled like baby oil or baby powder. It just was not for me at all. In fifth place, I put Wood Jasmine. It's a really nice scent. However, I'm not the biggest fan of those amber balsamic kind of fragrances. I like them a little bit, but I don't feel like I need a ton of those in my collection. But it is one that I do want to try again and see if I would really want a full bottle of it. In fourth place, I put Passe Soir. I really did enjoy that. However, I didn't feel like I got a good enough wear out of that fragrance. I don't know why that is. It just felt like it didn't perform as I would expect it to, and I feel like I want to give it another chance before saying yes or no to the fragrance. However, I really like the opening, I like the mid, and I didn't get too much of the base notes, but I was really intrigued by that fragrance. These next three are definitely full bottle worthy. I don't need a second sample. I know right away that I want them. In third place, I have Tubereuse Imperial. It was like a really nice creamy bubblegum scent. I really enjoyed that one. In second place, I have Creme de Coeur. That one surprised me a ton because there's so many notes in there that I had no interest in. I didn't even actively seek out a sample of the fragrance. It just so happened to be in my collection. I have no idea how, but I absolutely love that fragrance and I'm looking forward to wearing it next fall. But in first place, I have GRIS CHARNEL. It is such a popular fragrance on YouTube, and I totally understand why. It is a beautiful fragrance and one that I can't wait to get in my collection. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of me exploring some of the fragrances from BDK. I want to know what your favorite fragrance is from BDK, or if you've tried any BDK fragrances. If you haven't, I recommend you trying GRIS CHARNEL or Rouge Smoking. That's one of my favorite fragrances ever. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I would love it if you would give me a like. If you're new to the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.